Welcome back to Game Over Movie Reviews. My name's Peter and something different for the channel today. I've been tagged by Shawn from the channel Lost in the Reel to do this thing that's sweeping the movie community at the moment, where people are choosing their 10 favourite films from different genres. And my thanks to Shawn for tagging me in this, and just a general thank you for being a big supporter of my channel the past couple of months. He's a really great guy and one of the best members of this community. I urge you to check out his channel Lost in the Reel. He covers lots of different reviews of all kinds of films and has some really well presented ranking videos. I'll be tagging a few YouTubers at the end of this video, and I'll also leave links to their channels and Shawn's video version of this in the description below. So to the genres, starting with my personal favourite, horror. This was an easy pick for me and I had absolutely no hesitation in picking John Carpenter's The Thing. Amazingly, on release in 1982, this film absolutely tanked critically and at the box office. Some of the early reviews of this film were absolutely scathing, and I hope these reviewers were never allowed to review films again, because The Thing is a horror masterpiece. It was a remake of sorts of The Thing from Another World from 1951, and it takes that perfect horror formula, a group of people, a single remote location versus a hostile threat. In this case, a shape-shifting alien which can assimilate and mimic any living creature. What follows is an experiment in tension and paranoia and some of the best practical effects ever seen in a horror film. The Thing is 40 years old next year, but it's aged better than so many of its contemporaries and copycats because of these incredible practical effects, which will always look great. And it has that vague and absolutely not a happy ending. Are they or aren't they? Comic book genre next, and it's another easy pick for me. It's Joss Whedon's Justice League. I'm kidding. It's okay. This one was actually quite tricky now to give it some thought, but my eventual pick is Avengers Infinity War. Say what you like about Marvel and this current era of oversaturation of comic book movies we live in, but you cannot take away from what Kevin Feige created with the MCU and how all those films and characters culminated in Infinity War and Endgame. I mean, think of the work which goes into outlining and plotting a single film. Now imagine the effort it takes to pull 18 films worth of character and plot and tie it into one great big final payoff. Infinity War and Endgame deserve all the praise they get, and then some. I prefer Infinity War over Endgame just about because I think it's a slightly tighter film. Not one of the huge roster of characters gets shortchanged in Infinity War, and for me the film never sags. I couldn't quite say the same of Endgame, though I do think that film's excellent too. Plus in Thanos you have the only truly great villain in the MCU. I said what I said. Never has it been more true that a great villain must be the hero of his own story than it is with Thanos. His plight and his sacrifices mean that he's not just the big bad who wants to kill everyone. I believed in his story, though I do feel they took him a step backwards in Endgame. Comedy, the absolutely most subjective genre of film, I would say. I have a very broad sense of humour. I like the dark stuff, I like parody, I like satire, but I think the thing that makes me most laugh is stupid, puerile humour. And that really leads me to the obvious choice of Dumb and Dumber. I'm a big fan of Jim Carrey's early films, and this one is easily the most stupid, over the top and ridiculous of his early hits. Dumb and Dumber released just as I was leaving school and starting college, and it was just a kind of perfect timing and totally hit with myself and all my social group. We quoted it endlessly, and to be honest, there are still occasions where I'll roll out the
"Let's put another shrimp on the barbie,"
or
"Don't look at the fun bags on that hose hound,"
or
"So you're telling me there's a chance?"
These quotes are timeless, and I find great strength and solace through the wisdom of Harry and Lloyd. Adventure next, and a bit of a flaky genre, and it's hard not to just go for Indiana Jones, but I've gone with an adventure 65 million years in the making.
Jurassic Park.
This might be my favourite Spielberg film, or at least top 3, and amazingly it was released in the same year as Schindler's List, another Spielberg film I would definitely put in my top 3 of his. Has a director had a better year than Spielberg had in '93? Nah. This film is near flawless and it holds up so well today. The groundbreaking effects and animatronics on the T-Rex are still absolutely incredible, and the whole film is nail-biting thrill after nail-biting thrill. You have the initial T-Rex attack, the car in the tree, the velociraptors in the kitchen, to name but a few. And of course you have yet another landmark score from the master John Williams. This is Spielberg doing what he does, arguably better than any director, the big, timeless popcorn blockbuster, which is equally thrilling for adults as it is for kids. I'd love to know what you think of my choices so far, and let me know in the comments below what your picks would be and if we share any choices. If you're enjoying my choices, please tag that subscribe button. And if you like this video, please like this video. Genre number 5 is drama. This is easily the one I struggled with most because drama is such a broad genre and there are so many classics which sit within it. I could have gone for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 12 Angry Men, Schindler's List, Shawshank Redemption, or It's a Wonderful Life. But I've picked a film which I've loved from the first time I saw it, and that film is Good Will Hunting. I think it's absolutely amazing to know that Good Will Hunting was Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's first ever film that they wrote. It's very likely my favourite screenplay of all time, and I think if they lived another 100 years, they'd never better it. Then, just to be greedy, they're both absolutely brilliant acting in the film, with Damon taking on the bigger role. Star of the show, though, is obviously Robin Williams in easily my favourite role of his. It was a perfect character for Williams to play to show off all his talents. This man could do anything on screen, and it's all here. Warmth, humour, passion, his famous skill for ad-libbing and improv. In the scene where Williams describes his wife farting in her sleep and blaming it on the dog, you can apparently see the camera shaking as the operator was laughing at Williams' ad-lib. And I think we'd all like to be hugged by this man, wouldn't we? And told it's not our fault. Next up is romance. Not my absolute favourite genre, and hard to pick a film which does something a little bit different so it stands out from the crowd. But then, of course, I saw her. Amelie. Amelie is such a lovely, quirky little film. The romance only probably takes up half of the runtime as Amélie Poulain first attempts to better the lives of others through selfless tasks. In doing so, she neglects her own happiness and is hampered by a lack of self-confidence to do anything about an infatuation she has with a loner sex shop worker she happens to bump into. Audrey Tautou is absolutely perfect in this film, and I don't really understand why it didn't catapult her career. Amelie also features one of my all-time favourite scores for a film by the very talented Jan Tiersen. A beautiful, energetic, romantic suite of music which feels very typically French and suits the film absolutely perfectly. Animation next, and this one was a slightly easier pick than others. Had to go for a Pixar. My favourite Pixar is Up. Famously, Up opens with that sequence, which is such an incredibly brave way to begin what is essentially a kids' film about a house which is taken to another country using colourful balloons. And how often can you say that a film can make you cry in its first 10 minutes? And especially in animation. Has that ever happened before? Doubt it. That you care so much about the plight of a character that you have barely had the time to get to know is a real testament to the writing of Pete Docter and Bob Peterson. It's such clever storytelling because in a short space of time you understand what Mr. Fredricksen has lost, not just in the sense of his family, but also his own aspirations and ambitions, and you understand the film is going to take you on a journey, figuratively and literally, to get this grumpy old fella back to where he should be. And there are some great light moments in Up to Squirrel! Sorry about that, I really love the slapstick between Doug the talking dog, Russell the Boy Scout and Kevin the Snipe. For me, this film has it all. Sci-Fi is a very easy one, my all-time favourite film, and the inspiration for the name of this channel, it's James Cameron's Aliens. I'm not going to spend any time talking about this one because I've just done a review on my channel, which you can check out here and in the description below. 2 more genres to go, and the penultimate one is action. Another insta pick for me, and that is everyone's favourite Christmas film, Die Hard. Just a year before Die Hard released in 1988, John McTiernan had directed another film I strongly consider for this genre, and a couple of others, with Predator. But for me, Die Hard just pips it as the archetypal action film. I really don't think it gets any better than this. McTiernan is a master in delivering small slices of varying action across the runtime of Die Hard. You have the little mini shootouts, the big ballsy set pieces, and the snappy cat and mouse between McClane and Hans Gruber. Die Hard works so well because of Bruce Willis as the likeable everyman John McClane and Alan Rickman's debut movie appearance as Hans Gruber. Both of these pieces of casting were really long shots at the time, but this film hit the jackpot with both choices as each have become iconic. And just like with Dumb and Dumber, in a slightly different way, this film is endlessly quotable.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
And another bit of trivia I've always loved, Rickman's face during Gruber's fall is 100% genuine, as the crash mat fall stunt he would perform for the shark was done suddenly before he was ready. That is true fear, and probably a little bit of anger you see on Rickman's face. Final genre, and this one seems to be the struggle for everyone because you constantly hear this phrase, not really a fan of the Western genre. So I struggled with this one a lot as well, until a light bulb went off and I remembered the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I remember reading the 5-star review of this one in Total Film magazine, having never heard of this Western starring Brad Pitt, and I'm guessing there was next to no marketing done for the film, because when I saw it at the cinema, I had the entire screen to myself. And there's a scene in this film I would probably rate in my top 5 scenes I've seen at the cinema. An utterly beautiful nighttime train robbery, masterfully shot by the king of cinematography, Roger Deakins. Brad Pitt as Jesse James and Casey Affleck as Robert Ford have each never been better before or since, and the film in general has a majestic sense of solitude, like all the best westerns, which just gets into your bones. Now this film does have an epilogue which rivals Lord of the Rings Return of the King for going on just a little bit too long. But if you've not seen this one and you're not generally the biggest fan of westerns, I would recommend giving it a try, if only for the acting, direction from Andrew Dominic, and Roger Deakins' magnificent cinematography. So that's it for my 10 genre picks. My thanks once again to Shawn from Lost in the Reel. Now to the channels I'll be tagging to have a go at this one. Now guys, you're under no obligation to do this video, but obviously I'll be unsubscribing from your channels and blocking you on all social media if you don't. So I'm tagging Luke's Reviews, a great channel I really feel should have more subscribers. Luke is a meticulous reviewer and his videos are always really well written and presented. Next up is The Movie Apprentice. Josh is one of the most enthusiastic and positive reviewers out there. It's easy to see his passion for the hobby, especially with his mammoth Studio Ghibli watch through and ranking. And finally I'm tagging Let's Crash This Parade. One of my favourite off-the-cuff reviewers out there. Jack is a really funny guy and can take the piss out of himself and all the tropes of this hobby that we have. I recommend checking out his take on the reaction video. So that's it, that's all my 10 genres covered and all my YouTubers tagged. Thanks for watching.
Game over, man. It's game over.